Let me just set up as usual. Thank you for your patience. Let's have some music while I set up. It shouldn't take very long, don't worry. So today we're going to be reviewing Pop by Crypto Package Goods. I think there's a better way to call it than Pop by Chris Cantino, because I think it's more than Chris Cantino from a quick glance. Where is my... I'll just use this. Comes... not sent to all. Reviewing Pop by Chris Cantino, Crypto Packaged Goods. Live stream kicking off now. And I'll post this. And I'm also going to go on Twitter and post it here. And soon that will be just a single button, because I can program things. And programming enables you to automate things. Woohoo! So, that being said, let's jump into this review. So let me turn down the music. So thank you very much for joining me for this. My name is Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, and today I'll be reviewing not Crypto Package Goods specifically, but Pop, a new project that is launching as part of this as part of Crypto Package Goods in a couple of days, it seems. Yeah, so there's a the first thing that I noticed when I launch, so actually, first of all, disclaimer as usual, this is not a fair review, this is not an in-depth review. I didn't know anything about this project before. I'd literally opened it up half an hour ago, trying to find an image to stick on the thumbnail. Had a quick glance at that point, but really not very much. It looks like it's going to be an interesting project to review, but I don't really know anything. I haven't spoken to the founders. I haven't spoken to any insiders. I do know some insiders that I could have spoken to, but I didn't realize that they were there, seeing their name scroll here. And yeah, so I don't know much about this project. If I say anything negative about it, I might be missing some critical piece of information. If I say anything positive about it, I might be missing some critical piece of information. And the point of this kind of review is more to get an insight to how I think, rather than the conclusion of whether I like the project or not. And hopefully that's what you'll find helpful here. So, without further ado, let's jump into it with this disclaimer out of the way. And if we refresh the page, and it doesn't allow us to do that. Oh yeah, it does. The first thing we see is that, okay, it's got this kind of glary, very glaring colors and bright stuff and so on. And because obviously they've got, and the first thing I'll say is that they're focused on the next thing that they're doing, which is there's a raffle, there's a clear action, you can click here and register through pre-mint as well, which is a 3 ETH, which is a service for registering for allow lists, and then immediately they go into one of the most important things for a community type NFT, which is a social proof. And you get names like Chris Cantino, Mike Dudas, Randy Zuckerberg, Keith Grossman, Zeneca. There's a bunch of other names, Cosimo de Medici, that I've seen there, Bold Elon, AJ Vaynerchuk, I guess that's Gary's brother. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of names that are interesting here, which, assuming those are actually active members of the Crypto Package Goods community, is a really positive sign. So that's a well-designed site, despite the fact that I don't actually like the color scheme. I think even though I love Rainbow Puke, somehow the colors don't agree with me there. Something bothers me about them, but that doesn't matter, because I'm not buying the colors. If I'm buying this, I'm buying the whatever it is that they're selling here, and what it seems they're selling is the fact that they have some big names in their community, and that can be valuable to some people to be able to go and connect with these kind of people. Chris Messina is also somebody from Web2, quite well known investor, investor. the community that has it all. Okay, so yeah, like they're very clear. This is a strapline. And I've been complaining about straplines of projects that just say like, some kind of very vague statement. Here, you might disagree that this is a helpful statement, but it's very clear. They've got the names here. They've got the community that has it all. They're very clear. You're buying into a community. You're buying into a community that includes some big names that you might want to connect with in some sort of way. It gives you access to those people, gives them access to each other. There's reasons why communities can form around NFT projects, and this is what this project is focusing on. It looks like they have two things: the GPG NFT and the Genesis passes, and a pop. I think pop is the GPG, is the second pass. So yeah, I guess pop. Yeah. There's Genesis. There's the pop NFTs and the Genesis NFTs. So we'll just scroll back down in a second. But like this is, first of all, this is a very information-full site. It's like here's what I'm looking for in most of the websites that I'm looking at, and I keep not finding, is here's the utility. Here's the fucking utility of the token. Like, why don't you state that up front in on your website, and then I can evaluate whether that's utility that I want, instead of having me go on a kind of Easter egg hunt to try and figure out why the hell I would want to access, like why the hell I would want to have this token. And yeah, Greg, I agree the website is not super clear, but at least it has the information. Most of the other websites, some of them were really clear and they had no information. I'd rather a website that's messy and has what I need, rather than a website that's super neat and clean. Like, we've reviewed some of those, like Cool Cat's website is very neat, but it has no information as to why I want to buy it. This is a fucking mess and it's got all the information that I need. So we'll scroll back down here. Let's just look. Okay, they got started with 300 people that they invited there. 40 ETH floor, consultancy launch. So they launched a consultancy. They're incubating startups. They're doing some development. So they're claiming like that this community is already doing some pretty cool shit. Let's just click on the consultancy launch just to see what CPG they're consulting. So they've got some kind of revenue source going on there. So they've got something that's already working, and they're launching this new thing that will give access, I guess, to part of this. And immediately I'm thinking of Llamaverse with the static llamas and the animated llamas. There's a kind of dual mode that a lot of these communities are doing this. There's Proof is doing that with their Proof Pass, and then the Moonbirds. Like Zen Academy has the Genesis Pass and the 333, and so this is fairly standard. And there's about 300 people in. There's more Proof Pass holders than this, but like for Zeneca, there's 333. If you think of Llamaverse, there's 500 animated llamas in total, but I think there's about 300 holders in total. So this 300 number is recurring. It's like, it seems very similar to me. Obviously, they've got a higher floor than Llamaverse or 333. Obviously, I joined the wrong. I wasn't invited to the Genesis of crypto package goods, I guess. Maybe they'll watch this review and think of sending me a free pass or like free access to the community so I can hang out with all these cool people as well. We'll see. And they're launching another. We can check the OpenSea of the Genesis Pass. Where is it? OpenSea here. And it's at 26 ETH, which never trust the floor of these things without looking at the activity first, because the floor is very high, if nobody's buying, then it's pointless. So we're seeing here sales are 22, 25, 24.5, 20. Like, so that's the real floor. That's the real price of this thing at the moment. It's in the low 20s rather than the high 20s. Like, a really useful expression that I've heard, and this is over the last week as the market has been doing really badly. A really useful expression that I've heard is that the floor price is the price that no one is willing to pay for your thing. So it's not the price of the thing, it's the price that no one is actually willing to pay. If it was a price that someone was willing to pay, it would be bought at that price and the floor price would go up. So the floor price is not actually an indication of the value of the thing, it's an indication of the value that people don't think it's worth. We might look at this GPG thing because it's so like there's the CP, so the Genesis Pass, because it's going to be very connected. What like the value of whatever part, like just like Llamaverse, Less so with Zen Academy, but definitely for Llamaverse, the value of the two communities are intimately linked. And it's much easier, I think, if you build a broadly valuable community here, if you build a lot of value here, to then translate that value over here and build and boost up the value of the smaller community than the other way around. Because there's obviously inherent value in being in a small, tight community with lots of really high profile people. No doubt about it. But if you add another 10,000 people, how does that value spread? That's the trick. And I have no idea whether they're going to succeed or not. I don't know. That would probably need more research than I can do in this video. But that's the trick with these kind of things. And that's what I'm observing Llamaverse, for example, not struggling with, but working on. And I keep advising them that that's the right thing to be focusing on, to figure out how to give more value to the static llamas. Because if the static llamas are really valuable, it's very easy to then tilt the scales and end up with, let me center this, tilt the scales and end up with animated llamas that are more valuable. But if the static llamas are worthless, then no matter how you tilt, the more you tilt the scale, the more worthless you make the static llamas, and it just it becomes a kind of race to the bottom. So focus always on creating more value for these things. And these things are going to have alpha chats, seminars, data room trading insights, events, allow lists. Okay, so let's have a closer look. I really hate the looks of the website. It's so garish, such garish colors. Garish? Yeah, garish I think is the word. But it doesn't matter. There's a saying that that you've got product market fit if people are really biting your hand off to buy your product, even though it's just barely usable. Well, this website is barely usable, but I'm not biting the hand off, but there's information for me to actually look at, and it seems I see value already. So many of those websites that I've reviewed, I've had to dig so hard to find the value. Here I've already found some value because there's a community of high rollers. That's for the Genesis pass, and then there's that balancing game between the two communities that will need to be made. So they were baking in utility with an extensive mentor network, founders of successful projects and stuff. So they found a way to bootstrap a community. So Pop will be another so not 10,000, only 2,700. That's smart, I think, because if you throw in 10,000, that's going to be a lot harder. Proceeds from the collection will be allocated to bake in even more utility. What does it say here if we click on this? Oh, that's just scrolling down. Well, of course, this should be. It's condemnation of the NFT space. I even have to say that. But Pop is designed by Stuart Scott Curran. Obviously, an artist that I'm not extremely fond of at this point. I'm blocked. Wow. Okay. Fantastic. I'm already blocked by this person. I have no idea why. That's funny. I feel like I need to figure out a little bit more about this person. I can't be blocking me on an anonymous thing. Why am I blocked by this person? Probably because of some ambiguous tweets I made around Gamergate, I would imagine. There were some really low trigger block lists for people who were arguing about that. To be clear, I was not pro Gamergate at all, but I was also not pro the extreme people on the other side, and some people didn't like that. Anyway, I hate his design style, but whatever, it doesn't matter. That's not the most important thing. And art is very subjective anyway. Assuming that's also his art. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I love colors, but that's a bit too much for me. But anyway, Pop art. You'll stay for the utility. So the utility. Let's start with the Genesis, because I think that's where all the utility is at the moment. This is just Ponzi utility, which is fine. Ponzi utility. Ponzi utility. Okay, the Genesis chats and GPG incubator. So the GPG incubator is going to be an interesting one there. VIP retreat. That's sort of cherry on the cake, but it's content creation opportunities provide for Pop members via Genius calls. Don't know what that is. I'd be curious to hear more about that. But that could be quite valuable if it means extra platforms for people, people who want platforms. Ponzi utility. that can be very valuable depending on what's in these reports and in this content. Ponzi utility, CPG boards. Okay, that could be also quite useful. Bots dashboard and wallet watch feed. I mean, a lot of Discords have stuff like this. So it depends what's meant by that. If it's just your average, like, bots that are like tracking wallets via Mobi or something like that, you can find that on many Discords these days. That's not really valuable. What's curiously missing there is access to the mentors and stuff. Maybe that's part of the incubator. Then let's look here. You got the bots, of course, some Ponzi utility here. Daily digest, again, that could be very interesting. Ponzi utility, the data room, I'll be curious about that. Genius calls, what are those genius calls? I'm curious about that as well. Access to pop chats and GPG incubator. So CPG incubator. Let's find about this incubator. There's some kind of, fair enough, like information about the mint. Okay, alpha chats. The heart and soul of CPG. Focus subchats including degen diaries, DeFi, devs, product. I mean, that's nice, but without being able to see what's in there, it's difficult to know if it's valuable or not. So that could, I mean, and there's a lot of alpha groups where people talk about these topics at this point. So that's not really a strong differentiator there, other than the fact that they claim they have all these like high profile people in there. But it could be valuable. Like an alpha group, I mean, no, sorry, let me be clearer. An alpha group is really valuable. If you don't have one already, then you need one. Whether it's worth paying 40 or like 20 ETH for access to one, that's another question. I mean, to be fair, Llamaverse animated floor is also around 20 ETH. So it's like using that as a comparable. And Llamaverse doesn't have like Chris Messina and all that kind of shit. Like all these like high profile people. If they are really active there, and this is 20 ETH and Llamaverse is about 20 ETH, then maybe I should swap a Llamaverse animated for one of those passes. That might be smart. Who knows? The incubator. Okay, so let's see what they've done with this incubator. CPG members are actively developing several Web3 native products. Trusted Web3 reviews. What does it say here? That's not very... Project Tin Can is one of the products incubated. Users rate anything with a smart contract. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, interesting. CPG Incubator plans to formally back our internal projects directly from the CPG Bank community wallet. Data dashboard solutions, hiring squads, NFT collections, merch. There is through our network. No, I was kind of hoping this would be more like an accelerator, like, Angel Labs or the Hug. I'm seeing it's more that they're so funding their internal projects, which could be cool. Depends on who's building these projects and what sort of, like, that might be, like, if I joined, will I then get some support for building my charts engine or something? I was hoping for something more accelerator-like, but, it is what it is. Let's have a look at the next one, Genius Calls. Live and interactive programming on hot topics in Web3 consumers, in Web3 consumer. Anyway, because there's some educational material, product drops, launch. One of the first projects POP members will be tasked with is to launch products for crypto native audience. Oh, so you buy this and you get tasked with launching of products? That's confusing to me. Crypto toys, Web3 wine. The community will decide and develop the framework for our drops model. I'm not sure what this is about. Maybe it's a kind of launchpad platform to like get visibility to some projects. I'm not entirely sure. The data room. Okay. Trading insights and market reports, dedicated data room announcement channel, email digest, data visualization dashboards, alpha chats. Well, I mean, obviously, I consider these valuable. Obviously, at the same time, I'm providing a lot of this stuff for free. So is their stuff better than mine? Quite possibly. If so, then it might well be worth paying for. If it's not better than mine, then I wouldn't pay for it. But macro trends, searching NFTs. Oops. So event access, that's the stuff. I tend to be less keen on this kind of stuff. Because events, I'm not looking for more events in my life. Consulting. We started consultancy to help, operated by members. So probably some access to be working as part of that consultancy. So if I was looking for consulting work, maybe I could join to get something like that. Reduce barriers to access through original airdrop mechanics and blah, blah, blah. Pop scholarship review community. There are regularly mint limited quantities of pop NFTs to Scholar Code. Okay. I don't know, that's just icing on the cake there. Yeah, so increasing the scale of the community, basically. They have other artists as well. Wow, so it's not all this pop art with garish colors. GPG Incubator is led by a steering committee of Genesis members that will choose to allocate funds to support the growth of products incubated by CPG members. So there's a kind of committee that then decides to pay for. So if I was doing my my charts, I could maybe get some funds to support the development there. That's some value, but that's internal value. That's not like an external customer thing. Well, I suppose somebody might. Well, you wouldn't pay 20 ETH to get 3 ETH allocated to your project. But maybe you'd pay 3 ETH if that's the mint price of the pop to get 5 ETH allocated to your project by this committee, if that's open to the pop members, which I think they said it is. Oh, it's not onboarded as first clients yet. Oops. It sounded like it had, from the consulting side, which is, a sales thing, I suppose. So they'll do the usual alpha group to with partner communities and so on. Okay, so to me at this point, this looks most like, say, Llamaverse. It's even got a similar price. I think the floor price of Llamaverse animated at the moment, the last few sales, if we have a look, if you bear with me, I think it's, oops, that's not what I want here, animated. And by now, actually I want the activity feed. So it's about 18 ETH here, 20 ETH on the other side. So it's kind of a similar, I don't think I can filter animated here, but I think there was a sale. There were some low sales recently, I think. 13, yeah, it went down to 13. So using my my rule that it's the actual sales rather than the floor price, 39, bloody hell. So actually Llamaverse is about half the price of crypto package goods at this point, which makes sense given the roster of people that they have on here. Yeah, so my closest comparable is basically it's a Llamaverse with a more prestigious group of people in that original group, and maybe a different sort of angle of organizing themselves. Llamaverse is very much more NFT Llama is very keen on P2E gaming and metaverse and that sort of stuff, so it's really going for that angle. This group seems to be going more for the builder of I would call it Web 2.5 and sort of NFT projects and stuff thing. Seems a bit more active than the 333 in terms of active support, probably a bit more prestigious as well in terms of the membership list there, although it also includes Zeneca in here. So seeing as I do value, and I have paid, I paid 3.33 ETH for the Zeneca 333 membership. I paid at the time 0.95 ETH, which seemed a lot, but it wasn't a lot in the long perspective for Llamaverse. It was gold membership at the time, and it's now animated. I consider this to be valuable as a customer, so I see the value as a customer of this. I think especially if you don't have any of those communities yet, if you're looking to be active in the NFT space, joining one of those communities is a good thing, is valuable. It will have a lot of value to you. You will learn a lot. You will get a lot from those connections, and there's a lot of people to have connections with here, assuming they're active in this Discord, which, considering a lot of those are also in proof, I don't know if they can be active in all those Discords. So there's some kind of limit to how many Discords they can be active in ultimately. But the general idea, the general value proposition here stands up, and they're doing a reasonably good job of communicating it. Could be a little bit less messy, but as I've said, I'd rather have messy and full of information than clean and devoid of anything useful to help me value whether it's it's worth buying or not. So I'm kind of getting to the end of this. So if anybody has any questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, I'm probably going to rant a little bit more and then probably close this stream. But it feels like, let me have a look at this as well. It feels like basically it's an alpha-ish community, but like, fairly professional, despite the fact that this website looks like both of those websites they look, the thing is, it's not that they look very Web 2.0, they look very Web 1.0. You've got even the kind of animated thing, the scrolling text, big multiple types of fonts together, like it's kind of disjointed design. It's fucking like, it reminds me of browsing the web in the 1990s. Maybe that's the effect they're trying to go for, the nostalgia effect of browsing the web in the 90s. When people had like animated GIFs were all the rage, and scrolling text and things like that. Most websites don't do scrolling text these days. Let's have a quick look here. Genesis Pass utility. We've seen all these things. So the way they built it is they got a bunch of mentors. Why is this clickable? Oh, here's the mentors. They got all these people, which is a solid list of people. They gave them mentor pass NFTs, and they also gave them member passes, which they were encouraged to send to peers or mentees of their choices. And then they sold another additional 150 for 0.2. Now, if I'd known about this, I would absolutely have bought one of those. That's a good price for getting into this. Yeah, like 100%. But I didn't know about this at the time. And at this point, I might buy this, and I would consider buying this Genesis Pass as a customer, but not as an investor, because I like it might go up, but it might also go down, and it's more, do you want the value that it's providing? We cannot guarantee the participation of any mentor pass holder, of course not. Right, let's see questions. Do you see the value? Thank you, Victorica. Do you see the value of future jobs like PFP collections, etc.? Well, I mean, that's kind of like I sort of summarize this as Ponzi value, because it's basically value that comes from later investors, and it's a little bit snarky way to call it. But when the value is basically just in the form of money from later investors are trying to get in as well, that's basically Ponzinomics. And if you use a bit of that, that's okay. If the entire value is that, then you've got a problem. Here, there's a fair bit of, I labeled a lot of these things Ponzi. You can scroll back in the video and see how many of those I did label as being coming from later investors, guaranteed mint of pop NFTs and so on. These are all ways to make money from later investors. I also found tangible value here, and NFT projects often have a mix of real value and what is Bitcoin doing? Sorry, we interrupt this review just to have a look at what Bitcoin is doing, since somebody said, what the fuck is Bitcoin doing? Oh, it's not doing it. It's going back up, if anything. It was down earlier today. It was down by a lot earlier today. It's just bounced up. Okay, yeah, I don't know what the fuck Bitcoin is doing, but it's interesting. It's keeping us on our toes. I hope nobody was here and shorted it and decided it must be going back down now. That would have been a bad move. But let's go back to this. Plenty of time to look at Bitcoin on the Discord afterwards. So yeah, I see the value in this. I wish I'd bought it at 0.2 as a member. I might have bought an extra couple as well to just to have as an investor. I didn't know about it at that time. At this point, I would buy a Genesis Pass if you really, really want the value, knowing that it might go up and down over time. I also as for the pop, there's a clever balancing act that they need to make there, because if you have a horde of people jump into the project, it's easy to lose the sort of exclusivity of the community that you had over here. And so there's going to be a tough game of balancing this and of making sure there's enough value here without making this less valuable. And that definitely can be done. Llamaverse, I think, is doing it at the moment. So I'm not worried that it's like, an impossible feat. But that's where the value from Pop is going to come from. Like them playing this balancing act, like assuming that they have good value here, which seems like they probably do. Like, how do they then include all these extra 2,700 people, or let's say 2,000 people, in this 300 people community without breaking the 300 people community, but while still giving value there and not having a kind of split where these guys are regarded as inferior and not worth talking to and stuff like that? Like, because it's very easy for those two to be very insular communities and the value not to translate between the two. But I would imagine that founders, if I was talking to the founders, I'd ask them what they're doing, what they're going to do to do that, because that's going to be the critical factor that makes this Pop NFT pop. So I'm sure they've thought about it. Like, I can't imagine they're doing this and they haven't thought about this. So that's the question I would ask them. That would determine whether I think it's worth minting this. Now, at 3 ETH, I don't mint anything at 3 ETH, so I'm definitely not interested in that. But plus, it's not accepting entries anyway. Yeah, they can probably justify a 3 ETH price in the sense that, like a lot of similar communities like Llamaverse, the floor price is still around 4 ETH in this market. But, they're squeezing most of the profit, or like, you're not going to make a huge amount of money from this. I would buy this as a customer, but buying as a customer for 3 ETH for something that's not yet delivered and you don't know how the balancing act will go, just let somebody else mint, wait for the price to go down as they inevitably get it wrong in some ways at some point, and then buy in if you still want to. When everybody else is saying, oh, they haven't got it wrong, if you still believe in the founders and you think that they can pull it off, buy in then. And of course, if it actually just goes from 3 ETH to the moon, then forget about it. But I don't think that's what's going to happen, especially not in this market, not in the next couple of days when they're minting. So yeah, that would be if I was really wanting to get into this, that's what I would do. Cool. I hope this has been helpful. Like, I don't see any more questions there. Remember that all this stuff is just my opinion. I don't know anything about this project. I don't know anything about much. I get things wrong all the time. I'm just evaluating. I'm just sharing my thinking process and hoping that the thinking process is helpful for others to observe. And I wish the best to the project, and I hope it does really well and its price shoots up to the moon right away. And I don't see how the Pop price can overtake the Genesis price, but who knows? Maybe stranger things have happened in the world. It has deliberately less utility than the Genesis Pass, so it shouldn't be able to go higher than that. But it makes a lot of sense for a community to expand its reach in this way, and this makes sense to me. I'm not going to mint it. I wouldn't mint it if I could, but I see the point of it. Right. So I'm going to put the music on. Wait, 20-30 seconds. And then call this a day. So thank you very much for watching this, whether you watch live or afterwards. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you got something out of it. Thanks, Mustafa. Love you too. And yeah, have a wonderful day, and don't let the craziness in Bitcoin and everywhere else get to you. Like, things are crazy in this space, but it is what it is, and it's like this too shall pass. That's a good way to look at it usually. Yeah, go outside. That's a good thing to do when the markets go nuts and you're like, oh my god, the world is ending. Go for a walk. The trees are still there. They don't care about the price of Bitcoins. Hugging trees is a wonderful way to ground yourself back into the fact that, yes, this is the physical reality that exists in, and this stuff is just, imaginary stuff that we've made up to entertain ourselves, basically. So, hope this has been helpful. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and see you tomorrow for more charts and more project reviews. Bye.